to the Pens Nation radio show on the PensNation.com. You're listening to the Pens.
If they only knew.
Despondent Dallas, Newman, Glendale, and suddenly the Penguins are 0-2. When's it okay to panic, and when is Mike Johnston really on the hot seat? Plus, we'll talk about what the Penguins need to do to get the most out of Daniel Sprong's 9-game tryout and whether or not splitting up the power play is a good idea. You're listening to the Pens Podcast, brought to you by the PensNation.com.
Right on, man. Good lead-in.
That was good.
Yeah, much better. We're getting the hang of this, I think.
Hey, after all that,
slowly but surely.
Man, yeah, if they had any idea.
If they had any idea the struggle that we go through every week to put the show on.
It's always something, yeah.
It's
always everything, really.
Yeah, everything, yeah.
It is. But hopefully people like it. You know?
No,
we can only hope.
You hate it? Well,
that's okay.
Go
somewhere else and be a Flyers fan.
Sure. So the season started. In hockey games that matter now.
Legit hockey.
No more training camp. Real stuff now.
Might want to tell someone other than Phil Kessel. Because the Penguins in 2 games have registered 1 point. We're not talking about 1 goal. We're talking about 1 point, and that's an unassisted goal by Phil Kessel.
Jeez,
gentlemen.
That's way more depressing now that you put it like that.
Yeah.
Putting the team on his back.
Yeah, we've got 1 goal in 2 games. Yeah, that's pretty sad. Oh, we've got 1 point total.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, can I get some razor blades?
Is there anything that either of you guys have taken that has been encouraging from those two games? Because surely it can't be that bad.
Yeah. I think it's not been as bad as it seems. Two losses when you expected more. Yeah, that makes it feel like even heavier of a situation. But as far as it being as bad as people perceive, I don't think it's that bad. I've been pleasantly surprised that we've been relatively close in these games with the defense that we've been able to put out there. When you have Rob Scuderi playing top 4 minutes, that's an issue, and you expect a lot more, goals going in your net. To keep these games fairly close has been a pleasant surprise for me.
Yeah, only 5 goals given up, and that's not really the script that we expected to see with these Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah,
this was the Penguins team that was supposed to be offensive firepower, nonstop, filling the other team's puck with other team's net with pucks.
It's been offensive.
Yeah, we haven't seen that. It's been the other way around. Andy, Antti Niemi and Mike Smith, have they been that lights out? Have they been that good?
They have been pretty good, I have to admit. The Antti Niemi played awesome in that first game, and Mike Smith played good as well. And that's the thing. The Penguins are getting a lot of chances. Crosby may not have many shots, but, we talked about Phil Kessel. He's had shots. He has the only goal. But they are getting some opportunities. They're getting some good looks. But I feel like we said that a lot last year, too, and they're just not able to bury them. And it's only 2 games. But, the goaltenders did play pretty well. And it doesn't get any easier tomorrow night against Carey Price, the reigning Vezina Trophy winner. So it's not getting any easier.
No, certainly not.
Yeah, you're right. It's not getting any easier. But for some reason, the script is always like the goalies that
probably
they should
score 5 tomorrow.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was getting at. Like they'll score 5 tomorrow and be like, oh yeah, nothing's wrong. Oh great, everything's fine. But like against guys like Niemi and Mike Smith, they lay some eggs. So I think there's a lot of work left to do, but tomorrow night, who knows what that's going to look like.
Now, a lot has been made about those shot totals, in particular Sidney Crosby, because Phil Kessel has 9 shots on goal through 2 games, and I believe Chris Kunitz has 4. And those are the line mates. That's 13 shots on goal for that first line. Sidney Crosby, I guess the question is, do you guys believe that he is deferring too much, or that this is a problem, or is this something that once they develop some chemistry and been playing together? Crosby is a smart player, right? He's going to figure it out.
Yeah, he will. And I think right now it's the the testing grounds to see what they are able to do. Right now he's deferring. Later on in the season he may be shooting more. I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. But as for right now, he's trusting his line mates, and that's a good sign. Would you like to see him get the puck on net more than one attempt on net? Yeah, absolutely. But right now he's trying to figure out what he's got. With a winger, that's a sniper, and I think he's just feeling it out at the moment. Filling it out.
Yeah. I mean, this is the best winger he's had in a long time since Marian Hossa. So, yeah, I think the chemistry is a big part of it. He's deferring a little bit, but, they asked him about today. He does seem a little bit frustrated, and seems like he kind of said that he doesn't think he had too many opportunities to shoot the puck, whether, if it was going to be blocked or whatever, just didn't have a good angle, whatever it may be. So clearly Crosby's, he's not very happy with it, but he also didn't make it seem like he's not shooting the puck. He just, didn't feel comfortable shooting it from the angle, or if somebody was in front of him, something like that. So hopefully that'll change. And I think it will, knowing how good Kessel has looked. Guys are going to start covering him, and there's going to be some open ice as far as that goes. So I think he'll get straightened out. He's Sidney Crosby.
A player like Crosby, do you think it's possible that, is a guy who is extremely analytical when it comes to this game, and he is intelligent, but do you think that maybe it's, overthinking some of these things? Because, does a shot have to be a shot on goal to be productive? I guess is one of the big questions, and I suppose it's also part of the Corsi argument of why people think that those are so important, because if Crosby's shooting the puck, he's a lot less predictable if, he's always passing the puck. So even those block shots sometimes can be looked at in a positive way, even if they don't make it to the net. But now, the way Sid's looking at it, if it's blocked, what's the point?
Yeah, you're right. It sets up opportunities whenever you're not as predictable whenever you are kind of mixing it up a lot. Right now, it's pretty easy to tell that Sid's wanting to pass. Next game, he might come out just straight gunning it. But it's nice to have that little bit of a mix-up to be able to kind of keep the other team's defense and goalie off guard. Because if you're taking shot attempts, even if they're going to get blocked or if they're wide or whatever, you're mixing it up enough to where they have to second-guess themselves every time they're on the ice.
It kind of reminds me, I don't remember if it was his rookie season or if it was his second year in the league. Sidney Crosby wound up and ripped a slap shot and scored on it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, goals started coming in bunches because that was a new weapon to his arsenal. The goalies and defensemen hadn't really seen yet. So it was something that they had to play to. So it was just another tool to add to that toolbox for Sidney Crosby. And maybe that's what we're kind of seeing here, Andy.
Yeah. And, we talk about Phil Kessel being a goal scorer, but that's another weapon. I mean, Phil Kessel his playmaking skills is very underrated. He's a great passer. And, the last couple of years, I don't think Crosby's had a passer like that on his line. So, I mean, even though Kessel does shoot a lot and, will get a lot of goals, I think he's going to be passing to Sid a little bit here as time goes on, as they get more comfortable with each other. So that should open up some more opportunities for Crosby, because Kessel, as good as a shooter as he is, he's a great passer as well. He can make plays.
As much as we talk about this first line and the fact that Crosby has no shots on goal, it kind of has been the headline that dominated those first two games. You can go across the entire lineup and, have the same criticism for everyone because no one's generating any offensive output. Second line included, and that's Malkin, Plotnikov, and Hornqvist. So it looks like for tomorrow's game, we're going to see Plotnikov replaced on that second line with David Perron. What do you guys make of this move? I think the criticism or what people have talked about maybe is that Hornqvist and Plotnikov are a little bit too similar of players. And David Perron has a little bit of a different skill set, different look on Malkin's left wing.
Yeah, I think that's a fair criticism, because from what we've seen, we didn't know a lot about Plotnikov coming into this season. We saw a little bit of his potential in the training camp, but now it's like, okay, this guy is exactly the prototypical net front presence, like Hornqvist kind of guy. to have two of those guys on the same line may be too many hands in the pot kind of thing. So you got to mix it up a little bit. I think Perron on that line could make some sense for right now. But to know that you could interchange these guys night in and night out, that's kind of like the Crosby argument there. It's going to keep people guessing. Like you can mix up your lines in the top six. We may see Plotnikov on a line with Sidney Crosby at some point. And you might see Chris Kunitz on the third line. Yeah. You got a lot of weapons at your disposal that you can really use. Right now, I think, it's not working with those two guys with Malkin. Let's see what we got with Perron up there.
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense with Perron there. I mean, you think back on Evgeny Malkin's career and look at his best year. It was probably when he was with Chris Kunitz and James Neal. He needs a shooter on that line, and David Perron.
Don't forget Ryan Malone.
David Perron's probably the best option there as far as shooters go. Obviously not including Kessel. He's on the first line, but Perron, I think, is the best choice there. And pressure, too. I think Plotnikov was probably had a little bit of pressure in the top six starting out in his first year in the NHL. I mean, he's still trying to figure things out. So, Perron has had some time in the NHL and has had some success. And I think they're trying to see what they have in Perron. If they, if Plotnikov does end up turning out, or Sprong does good, or, Eric Fair, maybe that makes Perron expendable if he does produce there. So I think you got to put Perron there in the top six and let Plotnikov on that third line, let him try to get a little bit more comfortable. And I think that's kind of a better role for him anyways at this point. As you guys said, he's a net front presence, and putting him on the second line with Hornquist, as you guys said, I mean, it's pretty much two of the same guys. So I think Perron having a shooter on that line is going to help out Malkin a lot more.
And to tell you the truth, I really like the addition of Plotnikov on that third line because it gives them a net front presence and makes them more difficult to play against. He could pick up them slop goals. I mean, that's kind of what you expect out of a third line guy anyway. So put him there, see what you got.
Yeah, we're looking at Nick Bonino, Sergei Plotnikov. You're in my head, Andy.
Sorry.
And then Bo Bennett on that third line.
Yeah, you have Bennett sniping. It's nice.
Yeah.
Nino can make some plays.
He had a good preseason.
He did. Yeah, he had a decent one. Although I'll say, from watching the debut game with Bo Bennett, I was really left uninspired by a lot of what he was doing, mostly because of what he does when he doesn't have the puck. I mean, he's not doing anything to create any kind of space for other players on the ice. It really seems like, or to open up himself. It looks like he always seems like he feels like he has to skate close to someone else on the ice. There's so much open area on the left wing, but he moves in the middle because there's a defenseman over. I don't know if there's a gravitational pull for him or whatever, but or if he's married too much this straight line idea to the net, but then he doesn't even go to the net. At some point, he stops before he can get there. So I don't know, but Bo Bennett, I mean, he's done some things that have been okay, but there's a lot of stuff when I just watch him when he doesn't have the puck that I don't understand from Bo Bennett still.
I like the fact that you equated him essentially to a planet.
Yeah, that's literally what I was thinking when he was on the ice was.
If Bo Bennett were a planet, which planet would he be? Probably Pluto.
Yeah.
Probably Pluto. He's sometimes in the big league.
He's got some potential. He could be in the big leagues, and then sometimes he's just outcast.
Wilkes-Barre solar system. Can't hang with this one.
Sorry, Bo. You can't hang with us today. You're not a real planet.
Another guy who is in the National Hockey League right now, but it's on a 9-game tryout, and that's Daniel Sprong. His minutes have not been
ideal.
They've been pretty low.
Pretty low. Yeah.
Now there's 7 games left at this lookout for Daniel Sprong. So, what do the Penguins have to do to get a better look at Daniel Sprong to bring those minutes up. So basically, getting those third and fourth lines out there a little bit more for him is being on the fourth line going to cut it for him to get that look.
I'm not so sure they trust him, honestly, on the NHL roster at this point, because they're not giving him the amount of minutes that you would expect to really get a good look at him. They're very limited minutes. They're very sheltered minutes. And if they're really trying to get a good look, I think, honestly, what they're doing is just buying time for a guy like Eric Fehr to be back in this lineup. And that's unfortunate because I think they've got a great opportunity to prove that Daniel Sprong could play in the NHL. And I think he's got the opportunity to prove it. I think he's got the skill set to do it. But right now they're really sheltering him.
Well, how much do you think it is sheltering him, or how much do you think it is the fact that they just don't trust him?
Probably more so that they don't trust him.
Well, as much as it is really kind of freaking out or reacting to the fact that there hasn't been any offense from anywhere on the team, and they're trying to get the big guns out there as much as possible to create, and it's still not happening.
Yeah, that's what I don't get. I mean, what do you have to lose at this point where you don't have a lot of offense?
Yeah, it seems like that's putting the pressure, on the top two lines, and B, on Sprong when he is on the ice. That there's no opportunity to do that.
There's no room for error because you're playing 7 minutes a game.
Yeah, absolutely none. And the fact is, there are a lot of places where Sprong could work. Let's also consider the fact that Sprong, being a left-handed shot and playing on Crosby's left wing, being a right-handed shot. Wait, hold on.
Yeah,
right-handed.
Yeah, Sprong's right-handed. Yeah.
Yep.
And playing on Crosby's right wing. I don't know.
Yeah, that's not much of an option right now.
Yeah,
I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. I mean, you can't even really see that happening on the second line either with Hornquist there. So, at best, right now you have him playing on that third line, but at least that's a bigger looking minutes, and there's some skill set there that you can still play.
Sorry. I get where I was going with that. Basically, I want to see not on the right wing, but on that left wing. What I think that the benefit is, derailed my own thought there, but what I think the benefit is you're playing on Crosby's backhand, and that's not a bad backhand to be.
That's not a bad backhand.
No,
on the left side. So Crosby has two ways where he could deal. Now, what we miss from that is the presence that Chris Kunitz does bring to that line, which is the thing that Chris Kunitz does for everything. Crash and bash and create space for the two guys with skill on the line. As Kunitz's own skill diminishes and his speed and his own endurance goes, that goes as well. But I'd at least like to see him get a look in that position before those 9 games are out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you have a weapon like that, even the second line, I think he's, give him a shot there. With, they tried Plotnikov, that didn't work out. They've thrown Perron in there. If that doesn't work out, if you find yourselves down again, not scoring, why not throw Sprong out there? You saw what he could do in the preseason. He looked comfortable playing out there with Crosby and Malkin. Maybe throw him on the second power play unit or the first unit. I mean, they're split up right now, so I don't really know which one he would fit best on, but at least give him some more ice time and give him some more opportunities to create some offense, because that's what he's here for. He's not here to play with Kevin Porter, Bobby Farnham, and Matt Collin. I can tell you that.
No, and that's not doing him any kind of service. And
no,
the problem now is going to become, now that you're 0-2, there's a pressure on the team to perform and succeed right now. And are you going to? Is this the time to experiment with the unknown? Not so much. We've kind of lost a little bit of that leverage by having this slow start now. At the same time, if things don't work and you continue to try the same thing, that's the definition of insanity.
Yeah.
And putting Daniel Sprong on the left wing would be, not the same thing. So it would be something that that is a different look for Mike Johnston to give at the for the other team to line up their defense against. Now, the problem is then Daniel Sprong is not just stepping into a situation where he's playing with the two of the best players in the game on that first line, but two of the best players in the game who he is now expected to be the winning part of the formula to have perform. And that is a lot of pressure for your first NHL experience too, for an 18-year-old.
Yeah, it is, but we've seen time and time again where players have been able to step up and do that. I mean, Crosby, Malkin.
I think we've seen it, but not time and time again. I think time and time again we see it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
we get Jack Eichel right now. Sure.
Oh man.
Connor McDavid right now is struggling.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wanted to say that it's. I'm not saying that you're wrong, Nick. I'm just saying that more often than not, it doesn't go in the favor of that 18-year-old kid.
Yeah, I think we've been spoiled here in Pittsburgh because we have seen more oftentimes than not it has in the past 10 years with this team worked out for them. Like I said, Crosby, Malkin, Stahl, Fleury, Mata, Letang. I mean, those are some beating the odds kind of moments there. I mean, even Pouliot to some extent last year showed that he could play in the NHL as like a 20-year-old or whatever he was at the time. But yeah, I mean, each situation's different, but I mean, you're never going to know unless you give them those opportunities. And right now they're not doing that.
Right. Exactly. And all of those players are built differently too, because Chris Letang is built differently than Eric Tangradi.
Much different.
Damn it. Yeah, had to bring up Tangradi.
He's not the big dog.
And Bo Bennett also, is in that category.
Yep.
We've kind of struggled to live up to that potential.
Tyler Kennedy scored on his first shot.
Yeah.
And then we saw how his career went.
Or a forgotten name, Luka Caputi. Someone who we thought was going to possibly be a Daniel Sprong in that regard.
Luka,
so I think Sprong has more raw talent than Caputi. Caputi was a little bit more of a physical.
Angelo Esposito. Okay, now we're starting to even the field a bit. Yeah.
Angelo Esposito never had a chance. That kid was like
Nathan.
That was awful.
That kid was 175 pounds when he was wet, and he was tall and lanky. But
hey.
Yeah. Suck at hockey, Nick. That's what I'm saying.
You're right. But we'll see. Hopefully that he over the next 7 games we'll see an added role increase for Daniel Sprong. But if not, it's not going to be the end of the world. It would be nice to see what you got right now because I think he is the linchpin of this entire season. If he pans out, whoa, all of a sudden everything changes. You could possibly go out and get that top 4 defenseman. If he doesn't pan out, you could still get that top 4 defenseman, but it's going to cost you something that you probably don't want to have to give up.
Yeah.
So.
No pressure.
No pressure.
No big deal.
No pressure.
You'll be up.
Okay, so the power play, though.
Yeah, that power play, though.
We're always talking about that, huh?
Let's talk about this split power play. We've got Crosby on unit 1 and Malkin on the second unit. What the hell? Does this make sense to either of the two of you? Because it seems like most of the city of Pittsburgh is up in arms about this. They can't make heads or tails of what the coaching staff is thinking in regards to why they would be seeing the ice at separate times.
Here's the thing that's funny to me, because when they play together, it's proven that it doesn't work. And fans are like, why don't we have them split up at least occasionally so we could see if we can balance the scoring or whatever. And then whenever they put the two on separate lines, all hell breaks loose. Why are they doing this? This doesn't make any sense. Yeah. This is what you've called for kind of almost all along. And now that they're doing it, you are just crying like crazy about it. See, I mean, it's early. See what you got out of it. If it doesn't work out, fix it. Plenty of time. You have 80 games left to fix the power play. I think that should be plenty of time.
Yeah, and really, the very first power play, and the first game, as it continued, when they were on the ice, just the amount of looks that Kessel was getting, setting up on that circle where he looked very, very much like Alex Ovechkin.
Yeah, he was unreal.
Huh? With Crosby as a rover, I was thrilled with it. I loved all of the different looks that they were getting. Some people complained that there were too many shots on the perimeter, et cetera, et cetera. But, those shots they were getting.
They were complaining about shots. That's another thing.
Yeah.
Shoot the puck! Then you shoot it, and then people are complaining because it's from the perimeter.
Yeah.
Never happened.
Nothing ever satisfies anybody in the city of Pittsburgh.
Those shots on goal were scoring chances, and especially when you have a guy like Phil Kessel who's shooting the puck from the perimeter.
Oh yeah,
it's a scoring chance every time. I had no problem with it. I would like to see a little bit more of. God, I'm going to say it. I'm going to use whatever. I'm going for it. It's a little more jam there in front of the goal.
A little more jam.
A little more
jam.
From the Blotnikov and the Kunitz.
Hornquist.
Part of the
Coon Hackle.
As those shots were coming through. But I was fine with the looks that they were getting. What are the benefits to having them off on separate sides or on separate units? Because why not just put another guy like Malkin out there on the ice along with Crosby?
Well, what's nice about it is, as you're trying to come in as a PK unit, which one are you going to zone in on? You're typically going to zone in on the power play 1 unit, the first power play unit, because they are usually the most lethal, the one that's going to burn you. So you put your best players out there. That second unit, we've got a luxury here in Pittsburgh that we can actually put out 2 all-world talents on completely separate lines, and it's going to keep you guessing. I like that. Honestly, I like mixing it up. I'm not a proponent of keeping them completely separate all the time, but you've got 2 weapons at your disposal that you can use any which way you want to. You'd be a fool not to mix them up at times and keep people guessing.
Yeah, and they can play, the position where they want to play on the power play.
Yeah.
Because all the time, they seem to be their best in that same spot. So that really doesn't help when you have both of them out there. I mean, I feel like both of them kind of roam to the same spot when they're together out there. So this way they can play where they want to play. And as Ken was saying, Kessel, I love the looks he was getting. And the one thing about Kessel I love is that he seems to be able to create on his own. He's able to get around guys on his own. We remember James Neal, how good he was on the power play, but he wasn't as good as Kessel was in taking charge and getting around guys and creating offense on his own. So I love the looks that Kessel was getting. And, if Malkin, if they want to split the Crosby and Malkin up, I think I'm okay with that too. Give them some good looks. Maybe not every time, but as you said, Nick, if you have weapons like that, you might as well try to use them the best you can and create some mismatches by separating them.
Yeah, and the thing with me about this Penguins team over the past couple of years is that they have been so predictable. The first couple of chances you've got against this team, they'll burn you. And then as we see, like time and time again, the more you get familiar with what they're doing, it's very simplistic and it's very easy to catch on to. And teams catch up to that quickly in the NHL. And if you could mix things up to the point where you're keeping them second guessing, you'd be a fool not to try it.
I like your point a lot, Andy, talking specifically about the fact that they can play the position that they want because they fight for ice when they're out.
Yep.
I think that's one of the things that damned Bausma.
Damned Bausma. New parody account. Great.
No, the NFL,
world needs more of those.
When he was here, that was what the look of the power play when they finally came together, because the power play was clicking when Malkin was injured and Crosby was out there alone, or when Crosby was injured,
vice versa, kind of thing. Yeah.
And so there's no reason to think that can't happen again, or that won't happen here. The other thing that I like about it a lot is that it really the special teams doesn't mess with your flow as much because special teams, obviously the goal is to score. That's the point, is for you to score because you have the man advantage. But it's also about momentum, and it's almost more about momentum than anything else, because more often than not, despite the fact that you do have that manpower advantage, you don't score. 75% of the time you don't score. That's a good power play. And so, but that other 75%, you want to be generating momentum for your team. You don't want to disrupt the flow for what you have going on. And if you're still able to roll 2 lines of a power play out there, then you still have that kind of established for, the regular gameplay. That plus the fact that right now the Penguins are, they're not, to say they're having injury problems makes it sound stupid, because right now this is as healthy as the Penguins have been for like 5 years.
We'll take this.
However,
great. Thanks for the jinx.
Yeah, well, the injury problems.
As long as the 2 injuries come to 2 guys on the defense that everybody wants that to happen.
Yeah, sure. Well, I have a theory for that, by the way. But a plan to solve all of our problems.
Yes. Mercenary.
Greg Adams.
Greg Adams.
No.
It solves no problem.
It has nothing to do with who to bring in. It has everything to do with changing an identity and hiding a body. But the injuries that the Penguins do have right now are penalty killing injuries. So when the Penguins do go to the penalty kill, I feel like right now the power play is in preparation for that, because Crosby's going to be out there. Malkin's going to be out there. They're going to be killing penalties. That's more ice time on top of what they've already been doing. And if you can then somehow limit or manage their time that they're on the ice during the power play, but still maximize the scoring power that you have out there during that time, then I think that's wise too. So it might not be something that's permanent. And once these injuries are through, then they return to that the other format. But again, when you start season 0-2, that leash for experimentation is shorter and shorter and shorter. So if the power play continues to not produce through the next 2 games, I guess that Mike Johnston will be or Rick Tocchet really are going to see. Or be putting Malkin up there with Crosby again. Now, Malkin has kind of expressed the fact that, obviously he wants to be playing with Kessel, with Crosby on the power play, and the same thing with his line mate. He sort of alluded to the fact that he prefers to play with David Perron. Should Malkin's comfort level, or should Malkin's desires, should that be factored into any of this? Because obviously, if he wants something, he's more comfortable with it, you would think. But should the coaching staff acknowledge that at all?
Yeah, I think so, because of the talent that you have. There's something that he knows. There's something that he sees that he would like to be able to make himself and the team around him more successful. If it's a guy like Nick Bonino, probably shouldn't have as much weight. But to some degree, I do think that he should have some say. At least his opinion should be well listened to, in that regard. So,
yeah. I think at least listen to the guy. I'm not, I think sometimes the Penguins have been guilty of, letting guys pick their line mates and stuff like that. It's a little bit too much sometimes, but I think you can at least listen to the guy. The power play is one thing. I mean, especially if he's going to be, the anchor of that unit. I think you should at least get some input, at least, to the coaching staff. And obviously it's up to the coaching staff to decide.
So, this glow on your face.
Yeah, I know.
It's like Phil Kessel entered the room. And
Praise
Kessel.
Praise Ken.
Phil Kessel.
The first 2 games, what's the number one thing that you've seen that you've liked that you want to see more of? Is there anything that drives you nuts that you haven't seen more of it?
offense.
Goals.
Mainly. Yeah, goals. That's
There's a problem.
That's a little maddening.
Little grease and oil on those goals.
With it being as early in the season as it is, I would like to see them continue to mix things up, because like I said, last season I thought we were pretty predictable, and Mike Colligan actually wrote a great article about that on Monday. That first opportunity, the Penguins win however many percent of the time that they play a team for the first time. The second time, that number goes down a little bit. That third time they play them, it goes down drastically. People catch on quickly. With the weapons on this team, that should never be the case. People should be always second guessing where you are on the ice, like what lines are out there. I would like to see them continue to mix and match, find things that work, find out what doesn't work. Come playoff time, hopefully there is a playoff time that, like all of a sudden you have 3 or 4 different circumstances that you can kind of switch around from moment to moment in the game.
Yeah, I agree with that, and also I'd like to see a little bit more Daniel Sprong, as we said, give him some more. I was excited that he did make the team. I thought it was a good opportunity for him with Eric Fair out already and Pascal Dupuis out for a few weeks. It was a good chance for him to get an opportunity, so I'd like to see a little bit more ice time for Sprong, see what he can do.
So let's see. We've had 12, 14, 16, 18, 19 games played by the Metropolitan Division so far. How many games do you think we've won total? In all of the Metropolitan Division, out of 19 games.
Oh.
Have we won any?
Not the Penguins.
I mean, in the Met.
Oh, yeah. Well, Rangers are 3-0, so there's that.
Oh, okay.
There's 3.
Forgot about the Rangers.
How many was there? 19, you said?
Yeah, 19 total games.
Let's say.
This is the thing that sucks about video. If I go to look it up right now,
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Guilty.
You caught me, man. I have no idea right now. At least 3.
I'll say 6.
You'll say 6? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll say 3.
Of the 19 games, 14 of them have been losses.
Oh wow.
So the Metropolitan...
You went over, Andy. You went over. This is Price is Right. You're wrong.
It is 5-14 total.
Wow.
So you have the
Attaboy,
Rangers
Metro.
sitting on top at 3-0. The Islanders 1-1 and 1, with 1 overtime loss. Philadelphia 1-1-1, and then the Capitals have 1 win. So,
great job, guys.
well, you know what?
It's not going to be the case all year. This is going to be one of the toughest divisions in all of hockey.
Yeah, it's going to get hectic.
So that's 6.
Yeah.
That's actually 6 wins.
Definitely off to a slow start.
Right. Sorted.
Oh, wait.
Didn't show that. So, Andy, you're the winner.
So yes, I
I
do.
don't have any sound effects for you, but
That's all right.
so it's so in other words, 6-13 now. Still,
Yeah.
That's also rolling out overtime losses, but oh well. Yeah. So and we're talking about 2 games still too, but
Yeah.
as much as it is a hole that the Penguins have fallen into, it's not like the division is running away with anything.
No.
And of those games, so the Flyers have played 3 games. They've given up 10 goals. The Islanders have played 3 games. They've given up 9 goals. Columbus has played 3 games. They've given up 13 goals.
Ooh.
Pittsburgh, which, by the way, that's exactly the script that on Columbus.
Yeah.
They are living up to the scouting report on them, because their defense is even more questionable than Pittsburgh's, really. But in Pittsburgh, we see 0-2. They've given up 5 goals, and they've only scored 1.
But the sky is falling, guys.
Trade everybody.
Who in the league do you think has scored the least amount of goals?
Is it the Penguins?
It's not the Penguins.
It's not.
which tells you that
it's
it's 0.
That's bad.
They've only played one game, and that's the Anaheim Ducks. And that's everyone's cup favorite right now, or at least coming out of the West. People seem to be high on Anaheim. We're talking crappy sample sizes here, folks. But the next team up that's tied with Pittsburgh is Edmonton, and that's Connor McDavid land. Edmonton actually looking at this, they have 1 goal for, 5 goals against. So Penguins fans, we're exactly parallel to Edmonton right now.
Great. So we're getting the first round pick next year, is what you're saying.
Yes. Yeah. Austin Matthews.
Bring it, Matthews.
Matthews.
Crosby's future winger.
Let's talk about Jack Eichel.
Wow.
And I'm
He's
happy.
Unreal.
I'm so happy about Jack Eichel and what he's doing right now. And I hope to see the same thing from Austin Matthews next year. Being the fact that, yes, I have a certain
bias
for folks who come out of the USHL. But, Austin Matthews and Jack Eichel, both coming through the U.S. National Development Team. Yeah, maybe. This has been fun to watch Jack Eichel grow up and him in his first 2 goals, and they have not been cheapies at all.
No.
Both of them
highlight reel. Yeah,
they're exactly the style goal that Jack Eichel is going to bring too. And today's was just beautiful because it was the snipe on top of the takeaway.
That was unreal.
It was just a thing of beauty in Buffalo, and he's going to be a lot of fun to watch for them. Even if they don't make the playoffs, they have a lot of let's just say that it was worth it. It was worth all the crap you put up with last year, Buffalo. Plus, you get to hear that beautiful goal song after every goal.
Oh yeah.
It's not what I was
so American. He's a good old American boy, right there. That Jack Eichel, America. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
No, people. I think if you had to choose between the two, many people would have thought, he may have been the one that struggled more in the adapting to the NHL than a guy like Connor McDavid, and we've seen a little bit of the opposite in that. I'm not putting myself in that category, but just from what people talk about and how they talk about players, I think everyone looked at Jack Eichel as a second-tier rookie because you got a guy like Connor McDavid, who all the hype about McDavid coming into the draft last year is just massive. And but right now, Eichel is showing exactly that he belongs in this league, and he's doing it with style, man.
Yeah, and I think you're foolish to think right now that McDavid isn't going to live up to the hype, because I think
he's going to be fine.
Yeah. But it is fun to see Jack Eichel come and have that immediate impact that he's shown.
Yeah, and especially with these two teams, Edmonton and Buffalo, they've struggled for a while, and to see them get some exciting young talent like that is awesome to see. And we lived here in Pittsburgh, where we had a lot of rough years, and we got Crosby and Malkin, so we know exactly how that feels, and that's really exciting. You can tell that those fan bases are really rallying around those two, especially Eichel. I mean, that the new goal song and everything like that, that's just awesome seeing there in Buffalo right now.
Is this a fair comparison with what we've seen so far? And granted, sample size ridiculously small. Alex Ovechkin and Jack Eichel, how similar to them in personality on the ice, like their flair for the dramatic, their sniping abilities. How similar is that?
No,
they seem to have a little bit of that same enthusiasm after the goals scored, where they are just ecstatic.
I guess maybe.
And the shots are pretty damn wicked too.
Yeah, I mean the shot, the release, and I'm not going to compare Eichel's shot to Ovechkin's, because Ovechkin, that's serious.
That's other world.
Yeah, that's a big
generational talent. That's probably the best the game has ever seen, just in his arsenal. But I think sure, if you want to talk about their celebrations, that's. I think
that's kind of what I'm saying, is that they remind me in some ways of each other. Not identical, like their games are modeled, but just their style.
Because Jack Eichel is a two-way hockey player. That's one of the things that I love about him.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to get down on Ovechkin's two-way play as much as everyone else beats him up for it. But I think it's one of Jack Eichel's strengths is the fact that he does play on both sides of the puck pretty well, and we saw that with his second goal today.
I guess what I'm saying is that they're exciting players to watch. There's a lot of passion there, and that they exude that, and that's great for the sport.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of passion, the fans in Pittsburgh.
The Pittsburgh passion?
Yes. Let's talk about it. But the passion in Pittsburgh and the passion of the Penguins fans. Thomas Greiss taking the Penguin fan base to task a little bit today.
Tommy Greiss.
Thomas Greiss, by the way, he landed in New York playing with the Islanders. So he's now
what happened?
Fun zone, fun center of I don't know. It's like a madhouse for hockey because no one can actually see the puck, and the scoreboard on top of the goal. But the
shots fired, Ken.
Ouch.
But the quotes coming out of Thomas Greiss in New York playing with the Islanders. Quote: "It was fun to play here, especially coming from Pittsburgh. It's pretty dead there."
Dun dun dun.
Boom. Any arguments from the two of you?
Sadly, no. It's it has felt a little stale the past few years. I'll give him that.
He's actually going to get to see what it's like to play in a third period when there are actually fans.
Yeah, or no one's beating the traffic.
Well, there's no traffic because everyone takes the train.
That's true. Yeah. That is true. Maybe that's the solution.
No, he definitely brings up a valid point. And, I mean, we're not used to seeing that in today's NHL where people are kind of ruffling feathers a little bit because everything's been so PC.
Especially Greiss.
So kind. Especially Greiss. He never
said a word, like you watch interviews, he doesn't say too much. But,
he doesn't say too much. Yeah. And then to actually take that little dig, makes you wonder if he wanted to stay here, but he ended up leaving on, not his terms. So
yeah, I don't know. But it would, that very well might be the case. It might be some kind of passive aggressive, shot at management in Pittsburgh or his time in Pittsburgh or his teammates, or maybe he really didn't like the fan base. But truthfully, when we're talking to us, we all kind of agree. And it is kind of dead.
I kind of want to ask him about the Penguins national anthem.
Yeah, well, sure.
Yeah, see what he has to say about that.
But
why don't they sing it in German?
Here's where I'm gonna, and I may or may not, depends on what time I end up falling asleep and crashing tonight. But I think that this is an important time for us to look at this, not from a certain journalist's point of view in Pittsburgh who might want to lecture the fan bases about attendance or whatever. But I think that, first of all, Penguins fans have shown in the past what their level of passion is and what the fact that this truly is a hockey town, both by the volume that they put out in an arena, by the way they follow the team, by the numbers that they have going, by the money they spend to support the
sellout streak.
The sellout streak, which is
damn sellout streak.
The sellout streak I don't really count in this category because sellout streak is an indicator.
I don't count it at all as
of any of those things, but merchandise certainly is, and merchandise is flying off the shelves everywhere. But the way the city embraces the team, I think, tells you what people feel about this. And I guess what I'm getting at is, Penguins fans, if you haven't been paying attention for a while because you've been priced out of the games, go to Ticket Exchange.
Yeah, they're cheap.
It's cheap. Again, I don't know, maybe not cheap, but it's affordable to go to a hockey game again. Get your butt, and don't take that, no offense here, but get your butt back into one of those seats and make some noise and bring that excitement back to those games, because you belong there and other people don't. I want to see you there. You, not the other people.
You, and you.
Take your team back. This is your city, your team. Take it back. This is your time.
No, really well said, Ken, because for so long the argument is it's all the corporate fans that could afford the season tickets. And, all the guys that were rabid, passionate Penguins fans, they couldn't really get into the game without spending an arm and a leg. And you get there and you're like, it's kind of dead in here. It's kind of sit in place and do nothing. As bizarre as it is, things like the freak show zones that they do.
Yeah.
At least it's something
to
where, there's an energy, there's some rabidness in the stands, and that makes it tougher to play when you come in and play.
And more fun.
Period.
Yeah. It's a more fun, definitely a more fun environment as, sitting in a hospital waiting room.
Yeah. Ouch.
It's exactly what it feels like, especially in the playoffs. Doctor's going to see you now.
Bad gravy on your mashed potatoes and Jell-O. That's what you've been experiencing.
Yeah, but the past few years, you look at Ticket Exchange, it was probably minimum $60, maybe 60, 70. Now, now
it's completely castrated the passionate Penguins fan.
And I don't want to say there's not room
10
for different types of fans, because there is.
Get the hell out.
Really, if I go. If I go to a game, I'm especially not anymore. Maybe when I was in my early 20s.
Well, unless you have a couple in you.
But I'm not the guy who's jumping on my chair anymore.
No.
But there's a place for all of those folks. But what I'm saying is, for the people who just go buy tickets now, because it's affordable. We can make
absolutely
have fun and party hard.
Party hard. And we've got a random Blues fan on this chat.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's really funny. I hope and I pray that they don't experience that same kind of stale, completely sterile environment in their hockey barn. I hope it's rabid. I hope it's crazy, and I hope that for everybody. I hope every place could end up being more like Montreal, where it is just incredible atmosphere to be able to play in. We haven't seen that, but they're saying they're used to disappointment. So are we when we go to Penguins games in the playoffs, and it's all quiet. So, and the entire arena is about 2/3 empty come the third period.
Unacceptable.
So, Ken, you end up winning today. You got the most praise. So you get to close off this show in whatever way you see fashionable.
Man, I kind of just used up my rant, didn't I? That's
You won before you won. That's actually the reason you won.
Was that rant?
Yes.
The rant.
Okay. Up until that point, it was like, he's.
Well, let me talk about how rude it is for people to leave their cell phones on during a show.
Yeah, what a douche.
Blowing up on me.
That's not even a phone.
No, this is a phone. This is a really big phone.
It's a big one.
It's an American phone.
They work.
American, yeah.
But hey, we are. We've got a problem.
We do have a problem. And it's called technology, and it hates us all show.
Oh my god!
Yes, it does.
We're starting this show as.
Oh, I see what
we're ending the show the same way we started it.
Yeah,
we are.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I love the fact that you can see your reflection in the iPad.
Yeah, that's kind of Inception-like. That's creepy.
It is.
But really, Crosby, add to your arsenal, make things a little bit less predictable. Take some shots on goal. I'm thrilled to death with the offense that we're producing from that first line. But just add a little bit more to the fact that things can come from the center too. It's coming from the left. It's coming from the right, especially from the right. But we want to see a little bit more from that center from the middle. And at the very least, this is a league where goalies play the percentages, and you're taking and give them even more of an advantage whenever they can play the percentages at those certain angles more than they can from another angle. So don't let them have that advantage. Take your shot.
Well said. And with that, Ken, you know what time it is, don't you?
When it's time to party, we will party hard.
Thanks for listening to the Pens Podcast. We'll be back, actually, I believe sometime this week, where our guests will be Phil Esposito and Wayne Gretzky.